So at Hands of Hope, the mission of Hands of Hope is to uniquely and deeply love orphans at home and around the world. And effectively, the orphans in our society here in the United States are the kids in foster care. So these are, we like to say, orphans and vulnerable children, because they're not traditional orphans, but they definitely are vulnerable children, and in many ways they're societal orphans because they really don't have a parent or a family to take care of them. One of the roles of Hands of Hope is to educate people on that. We do that through our informational meetings that we hold. Foster care specifically is that we say we want to try to create stability and hope so that children can heal and thrive. And so we do that through a variety of ways. One of the ways is we do that through impacting children directly, the kids in foster care. So we hold events for kids in foster care. We've been extremely blessed. We're so grateful that we have a good relationship with the Indianapolis Colts, and we've been able to do some events where players come. We've also done some things with the Pacers and the Indians, and we're just really grateful to have these relationships where local sports organizations understand the value of investing in these kids in foster care, helping them know that they're special because they are special. And so we're excited that we've had that opportunity with our events. Kind of a cornerstone of the events that we do is sending kids to camp. Try to have these kids come and make a difference directly in the lives of the children. So that's one thing we do. Another thing that we do is we try to support foster parents. 50% of foster parents quit after the first placement or the first year because it is so difficult. That's true in the state of Georgia, it's true nationally, and it's true in the state of Indiana. So if you can keep foster parents in the game, that's one way to have more foster parents available for these children. So with care communities in place, that number drops to 5 to 10%. Less than 10% quit after the first placement or the first year if they have a care community in place. And what a care community is, it's basically wraparound services for foster parents. We love it because, we like to say everyone can do something. And we like to provide, as an organization, practical opportunities, practical ways for people to impact a child in foster care. And this is an amazing way you can do that. It's a church-based program, and it's basically there's people who just do meals, they might do yard work for the family, people who say, yeah, I'll help watch the child. They are background checked, of course. We have some training for them. And it just provides prayer support for the family, people who are checking in with them. Something I've heard over and over again from foster parents is that they feel isolated and alone in what they're doing. People just don't understand. And people may say, oh, I want to help you. And they may give them one meal. But being a foster parent is 24/7, it goes on for a long time. It doesn't end. So it can go on for a year, 2 years. And so these care communities wrap around these foster families and provide support for them that keeps going. So the foster family gets one meal every week through their care community, and they get prayer support every week through their care communities. Another thing we do is we do some things to directly support Department of Child Services. So we understand the system is a mess, but we also understand that DCS workers are underpaid and overworked. They have very, very, very difficult jobs, and we want to support them in what they do. We want to come alongside them. We don't want to have an antagonistic relationship. We want to have just a relationship where we're coming alongside them. We see ourselves as a bridge between the faith community and Department of Child Services, so we can kind of be that bridge and provide consistency in the support for DCS, but yet also allow opportunities for the church to get engaged. So one of the things that I did probably 3 or 4 years ago now is I sat down with someone who was in DCS in the county that I live in, and I said, how can we help you? So we didn't want to come with our own agenda. We wanted to instead see what would be beneficial from their perspective for us, and they said to help them watch kids. So they hold continuous education training for the foster parents, because every foster parent has to have a certain number of continuous education training hours every year to retain their foster license. So DCS provides these continuous education training hours, and what they were doing is the DCS staff was watching the kids and doing the training. So I went the first time to watch and see what it was, and realize that, hey, this is something we can totally help with, because they had about, 4 volunteers for 20 kids, 30 kids. It was kind of total chaos. And I thought, we can help with this. So we started in that county, Hamilton County in the state of Indiana, watching the kids in foster care. Now we have sometimes up to 60 kids, and we love to have, and we usually do have, a 2-to-1 ratio of adults to kids, because we want it to be more than just watching kids. We want to be loving on the kids, investing in the children, letting them feel the love of Jesus through this time. So it's really grown in that county. And then from there, another county called and said, hey, would you come do it for us? And we said, sure. So we started doing it there. Then another county called and said, would you do it for us? And we said, sure. And we started doing it there. And then Marion County called and said, would you do it for us? And we said, sure. So we're doing it now there. And I actually just got a text a couple weeks ago from another county who was interested in us doing it for them. So I think that's a really practical way that we can kind of do two things at once. We can come alongside DCS and really support them in what they're doing, and it also is a support to the foster parents, and we get to invest directly into the children's lives, which is such an amazing thing. We have something called Bags for Hope. So when children first enter foster care, well, first of all, most of them, a lot of them don't come with anything. Like literally the clothes on their back is all they come with. So the DCS worker goes, they get the child, they may get them at midnight, they may get them at 5 o'clock, who knows, whenever they is. They just come with whatever they have. But sometimes they do have some things they come with, and right now what happens is the DCS workers just put those in a trash bag and then bring them. So one of the things Hands of Hope does is these Bags for Hope, where we provide duffel bags. They fold up really small, which again is what GCS has requested. And then these toiletry packs, which have just shampoo, body wash, deodorant, toothbrush, and toothpaste. It's kind of cute. I talked to one foster parent who was telling me that their foster child was so happy to have their own toothpaste and toothbrush. Like that just made their day. They were so excited to have that, which is something we don't think about, that would be such an exciting thing to a child. But we just kind of take it for granted that people would have that. But these kids don't have that. So they're super excited about that. So we feel like at a point in their lives, which is really, really a hard time, it just is a little bit of light, a little bit of hope, a little bit of dignity during that hard time through these Bags for Hope. A high value that we have at Hands of Hope is to go deep and not broad. So what we mean by that is we would rather change the trajectory of 25 kids' lives rather than touch 1,000 kids' lives. And there's organizations that do that where they touch 1,000 kids' lives, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not who we feel like God has called us, where God has called us. We feel like God has called us to really try to go deep with these kids, to really change that trajectory of their life. Just a really neat story of this kid, and if you met him, and again, I won't use his real name, but let's just call him Daniel. And if you met him, he is so intelligent and just charismatic and just so sweet. But he probably 3 years ago started coming to some of our Hands of Hope events, and particularly started coming to some of the ones with the Colts. He was one of the individuals who got to meet Vontae Davis in person, got a picture with him, he put it on his fridge. And he also got to go to some of the Colts games. His foster mom told us that at the times when it was hardest for him, it felt like those were about the times when he was going to be going on a Hands of Hope event. And so he got really excited about that and gave him something to look forward to. She also said he put that picture with him and Vontae Davis on his fridge, and he would just keep going and looking at it periodically, and it was kind of like bragging rights with his friends. It made him feel special, helped him feel like he had value. So he kept doing, he kind of was with his foster mom, then back to bio mom, or bio family, then back to foster care, back to bio mom, probably 3 or 4 times back and forth. And we tried to kind of keep him in our program, if you will, keep doing things with Hands of Hope. He went to Spring Hill Camp, the program where kids can go to camp at no cost to the foster parent. They can go to the camp, and he went there. And one time when he was there, he really felt like God was telling him that he should go back and talk to his biological mom and tell her, and he was about 11 years old at the time, that he should go back and tell her that she should give up her rights so that he could live with his foster mom, because he understood that was going to be the best for him, and it wasn't good for him to keep going back and forth as it was. So he went back, he had the courage to talk to his biological mom, and she agreed that it was the best thing for him. So she terminated her parental rights, and just October of last year, he was able to be adopted by his foster mom. And for him, that was really the best outcome, because it really wasn't good to be going back and forth, which is really hard on these kids. So it's a cool story of how just us putting in place these people to influence his life, and these events to encourage him in hard times, and this camp where he could kind of listen to to kind of get out of his normal routine, to kind of think differently, how that really ended up having such a major impact on his life. And he's doing amazing. He's adopted. He's part of a family now forever. He knows he's going to be able to stay there. And so that's just a really cool, I get so excited to hear these stories of kids whose lives really have been changed forever. Everyone can do something. And probably there are organizations in your area who are doing something, and it's just a matter of finding out who they are. So I would say Christian Alliance for Orphans, if you haven't heard of them, it's a website, it's a national organization. They're amazing. They have on their website a list of kind of organizations that are making a difference in foster care through the nation. You could contact Christian Alliance for Orphans and find out. There's another organization, Lifesong for Orphans, that also is doing things with foster care kind of throughout the country. You could contact them and find out if there's an organization in your area or near you that's doing something. You do those things and there isn't anything that you can tell is happening in your state, I would just encourage you to just go to your local Department of Child Services and set up a meeting with someone. They actually are thrilled to get help from people and find out what can we do. There's also national organizations like Together We Rise that I talked about how we do Bags for Hope. They do duffel bags for kids in foster care. Contact them. They might be doing that in your area. And you could do something as simple as doing a duffel bag. Get your group, get a small group together. Get a group of friends together and do these duffel bags and provide something for the kids in foster care. People say there's no orphanages in the United States, and that is true. There are no orphanages in the United States. However, there are residential homes in the United States. So I pretty much can say every state has residential homes. Now, these are children who really struggle, but they need the love of God and the love of Jesus. So find out where one is in your state and get involved there. Many of them, not all of them, but many of them will allow volunteers in some capacity. So you might have to do a little digging. It might not be the kind of thing where it's right in front of you, but if you do a little digging, I'm sure you can find something. God will open up that opportunity. And of course, you can always, depending on your age, be a foster parent. I think sometimes people think, I have to be married, I have to have everything together to be a foster parent, and that's not true. One thing that I love to say is there's powerful possibilities when we all work together. So I feel like the body of Christ, if we work together, God can do some amazing things. There's one body of Christ. We are all in this together. And I think when we link arms, when you as a young generation, there are so many possibilities when all of you link arms and say, let's do this thing.